to session 5. We're looking at personal celebrations and reflecting on Christmas and contemporary Christmas and what we experience throughout the years. So I hope that you really enjoyed this closing chapter of looking at all things Christmas. So this week we are having our usuals, our essential questions, and our reading and viewing assignments. Our discussion is in 2 parts because we're going to look at our term projects and we're also going to look at sort of Christmas as a whole. Then we will submit that assignment of the service project so that you tell me all about it. And then a submitted assignment of a paper. You'll have 3 different choices. You're only choosing one, so don't feel like you have to write about all of them. You're just choosing one of these projects to explore. So here are our questions. Obviously, we're talking about our service project this particular week, this session, because we've been working on toward that our entire term. So first, how do you serve others in your local community? I love this question because a lot of times I feel like we think service is this huge thing. It's something that takes a tremendous amount of money and a huge influx of time. But when we pause and we think about daily life, more often than not, we start to see that we are loving others in our community. And of course, we want to amp that up whenever we get the chance. That's exciting. But notice what you're doing every day to love people and celebrate that. Next, what are biblical examples and mandates of social concern? What do we see in these different stories about how we are connected to our communities? Then, as we get to that reflection part, what are our personal values and traditions regarding Christmas? And as you've all found out, as we've gone through different discussions all session, all term, we each have different ideas of what makes for Christmas and whether or not we celebrate it and how we view all of that. There are a lot of possibilities, and each one has merit and value. Finally, our last essential question of the entire term: how does your faith interact with your observance of the holiday? Again, that leaves so much space. I have known people who don't celebrate Christmas. I've known people who celebrate it, and all the range in the middle of how people sort of participate in that. And it is exciting to see. It's exciting to ponder sort of what we take from the time to have some time off, or the fact that we're often, depending on our job, we're working twice as much or 3 times as much. What do all of those things look like as we go through the season? Reading and viewing. We just have chapter 6 now in the Forbes book, and we're going to watch It's a Wonderful Life. If we happen to choose paper number 3, here is the YouTube link for a small section about the 19 World War I truce, which we also talked about in session 4. Our assignments, we have 3, of course. We have our ornament and service project and reflection that we're going to talk about with each other. You're going to submit a short paper about your service project to me and what it meant to you. And you're going to write your final reflection paper, and you have 3 different topics to choose from. So let's go look. So first off, we're going to share our ornament and share a little bit about our service project with everyone. What was that experience like? What did we learn? How did it help us process our course? What does that look like to us now? And we're going to share that in our discussion. Also, we're going to keep going with that. Take a few minutes and discuss what you've learned about the major themes and significance of Advent and Christmas. Has our understanding or appreciation of Christmas and winter, of the season, has that changed at all? Forbes, especially in chapter 6, deals with wrestling with Christmas. He presents 3 issues that he has encountered in his study. Is there one that you identify with more than others? What changes do you want or need to implement, or perhaps would like to, as you consider the season and the connections that he is making? So you're just kind of, it's like most classes where we reflect on the ideas and concepts, and that's what we're doing here. We're reflecting on what we're reading, and the scope of it is to look at how we celebrate or don't celebrate Christmas and what that brings up for us as people. Most of my life, I found that Christmas was a really fraught time because it is about families getting together. And when you are, for me, I was in a good family, so I didn't, a safe family, and so I don't think good is the right term. Safe. I was in a safe family, and so I didn't understand when I was little But as I grew older, I found that not everyone was in a safe family. And so holidays where everyone gets together, if you aren't in that safe space, can be really challenging and difficult and bring up a lot of pain. And it can bring more pain if you're around people who have physically and mentally and emotionally abused you throughout the years. So those ideas of what Christmas is can be really, really different for each one of us, and they can make it worth celebrating, and they can also make it really not worth celebrating, and that's up to us to each decide. So our service project. So now that we've done that, we're going to get to this 2-page paper part. We're going to tell me about the project, tell me what happened, explain why you chose it, and really, honestly, that can be anything. I don't feel like there has to be a great reason. I remember an assignment years ago where I think I had like 5 things students could choose from, and one student said, and under the how I chose, she was like, you know what, I just had no idea, so I put the numbers on some paper, and I asked my child to ruffle through them and grab one, and so that's how she picked her project. It wasn't this particular project, but honestly, sometimes we have like this idea, or we're really connected to it, and we have a really personal reflection for it, and sometimes we just are like, something. Either one is fine, any range within there. Third, you're going to share the themes illustrated in that service project. And finally, your reflections about what you gained from it. What did it do sort of for you and for the community? I think a lot of times that's the wild part about service, is that we gain so much from that experience. Okay, so this is the final paper. It's that big one worth a lot of points. 4 to 5 pages. But you have a lot of options. So option 1 out of 3, you could write your paper about the celebration of Christmas within the cultural setting of a literary piece or film studied in this course, or one of the extra films on the Christmas Films document. So the questions you would look at: how do they celebrate Christmas in that culture? How is the culture reflected in its celebration of the event? You don't have to like go through these as a check, 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 but what sort of things sort of catch your attention deeply? So like, what similar themes do you find in their celebration? What's missing? How is the culture reflected in literature or film? So we are taking a piece of it and saying, what do we see? What do we experience in that? So we could say, what is a modern American Christmas? And look at I guess the 1994 version is a little old now. That's what it feels like to get older, I guess. But what does that reflect from, say, a film we were watching in the 90s? What did that reflect about our civilization at that particular time? And then, of course, if we found something more modern, I think we have a lot of great possibilities there. Or you could attend a Christmas celebration and write your 4 to 5 page paper about that. Discuss the themes of that celebration that were significant and meaningful to you. You could compare and contrast the themes in that celebration with a literary piece or a film that we looked at. You could think you could look at the concepts as they relate to that meaningful part to you and how you want to incorporate them into what you tend to do or your traditions as you go through the time. We don't want it to be where we're just sort of like sharing random things and trying to fill up space. Maybe as this example goes, if you started a tradition with your family, explain how you got there and how it connects to the things that are meaningful to you. A lot of us at different times of years attend certain celebrations as a family or as a community, and that is always really, really precious and exciting. It reminds me of all the years when we go to a sunrise service for Easter and things like that. We have those specific times that are different, and that we all get together, and it creates those wonderful memories. Or finally, this is the third one, you could research the story of the 1914 Christmas Truce, that's that video, and write a 4 to 5 page paper about it. So some questions to think about. Remember, these aren't just like, check yes or no as you go down them. They're there to inspire and help you find the footing that you need to write about it. So you could look at how the celebrations of Christmas differed on both sides of the line. So we're generally talking about English soldiers and German soldiers on opposite sides there. How did the celebration of Christmas transcend those cultural boundaries? And finally, what implications does their celebration have for us today? So you can look at the Christmas truce, you can look at an event that you attend and what that means for traditions and how it could possibly as well connect with things that we saw, read, or watched in the course. Or you could look at what Christmas looks like within a particular era. So immediately I thought of Louisa May Alcott's Little Women and the opening of that and how they were thinking of Christmas for each other and what they could make, but they were also packing baskets to take things to other people. And so they went to see people who had less than they did to share with them. And they also went to see people, their aunts, who had more than they had. And then they were there in the middle. And most of us are. I would think that someone has less and someone has more. So again, don't look at these lists as, oh, these are the questions. Did I do that one? Check. Did I do that one? Check. But look at them as starting points. Which ones are exciting and interesting and really spur you on as you think about it. So have fun, explore. I hope that none of these have been too difficult. I hope that they've been fun in many different ways as we learn and grow and process what Christmas means to us or what family and connection and community mean to us. So happy Christmas and happy New Year.